Welcome to the Women Leaders Association Daily Member Podcast, where we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. I'm your host, Julianne Kirkland. And in each Daily Member Podcast, we will pick out a great speaker from one of our meetings that we thought you would enjoy. You can access hundreds of recent speakers, book summaries, great articles, and more at no additional charge through your membership portal. If you would like to get involved in a Women Leaders Association mastermind group or find a networking group near you, or if you just need access to the membership portal, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com to be connected. Now let's tune in for this incredible message.
Sure. Hi there. I'm Michelle Anderson, and I'm the National Director of Pharmacy for Mutual of Omaha. I'm a pharmacist by training, and I've worked in the healthcare space for about 13 years. And I work on the back end of the health insurance, so probably a job that you never thought who did it, but somebody has to stand up all that stuff. So when you go to the pharmacy, it all works the way you expect it to. And so that's my team. I'm a little raspy today. I have 2 kids. They're in daycare and they bring home all the germs. So apologies if I have to stop and take a drink of water. And I, previous to Mutual of Omaha, I've worked there for coming up on 3 years. I worked as the director of pharmacy for the Denver Health Medical Plan. So like I was just saying, I'm a pharmacist by training, but I work in an office environment, so the back end of insurance. And I work entirely remote. Mutual of Omaha is based in Omaha. And so I work from my house here in Colorado. And when I joined the company, everything for the most part was kind of on site, and there were a few of us that were off site. And so COVID was actually really nice for me because then there was always a call-in number and I got to see people's faces. But Mutual of Omaha is a pretty big company. We have a lot of different divisions and products that we offer, and there are very few clinicians within the company. I am one of the few. I often hear from people within our company, oh my gosh, we have a pharmacist within the company. And so it's kind of surprising. My product is the newest in our division, and it's also the most highly regulated. So all of that to say that there's not a great understanding from a lot of areas within our company as to like what I'm doing or what my product is working on. So that just makes branding so much more important for me. And today I'm going to talk about my journey, and just to let you know that these are things that I'm focusing on as well. And I'm unfortunately not the expert quite yet, but I'm going to share with you my plan. So on the next slide, we can talk a little bit more about that. So I'm hoping to be an expert on these someday soon, but I actually have some of these items as goals within my work plan, my learning and growth plan, as our company website would call it. And you're going to hear throughout the presentation that I say things like me, my, the slides say I will, instead of directing to you, because these are actually directly from our company site and things that I've been to some trainings on and really am trying to focus on for myself. And this presentation really helped me organize things. So happy to be here to do this. But we're going to talk about cultivating networks and partnerships, influencing others, branding, and personal influence. So for cultivating network, first and foremost, making networking a priority with a purpose. I think in the earlier presentation, we talked about having purposeful mindset. And so this is no different, definitely establishing a purpose. And so I'm going to work on incorporating some skills to grow and maintain my network into my day-to-day. These aren't going to be things that I'm going to say, oh, I have to go do that. It's just going to be part of my work. And my first step is to tell my mind, this is the way we're going to do it from now on. So I'm going to regularly thank somebody outside of my team for their partnership or assistance. And if you don't already currently thank people on your team, definitely start there. We've got, I'm sure as most of you do, like a employee survey, and that seems to be going pretty well on our team. So, baseline, keep up, making sure that your team feels appreciated and that you're reaching out and letting them know what you appreciate about what they're doing. But to grow your network outside of your team, one thing that you can do is to just make sure that the people outside of your team know how much you appreciate them. I'm particularly going to look for people who are exhibiting the the traits that I'm learning to do better on. And so if I see somebody do something where I'm like, oh man, I should really do that to help with my network, I'm definitely going to let them know what a great trait that is and how much I appreciate it. Looking for opportunities in professional organizations where I can expand my network. Well, I'm here today, so check, right? No, that's just one step. But any time that there's an opportunity for me to do something outside of my organization, trying to get like that yes mentality, like, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm recently applied to a committee in a professional organization that I belong to. And it was the last day to apply, and I had to fill out a form. And I thought to myself, I do not have time to do this right now. And I thought, you know what? I am going to make networking a purpose. This is part of my goals. I have this written down. I can find a couple minutes just to fill this out. So I did. And if I didn't have that priority with purpose, I probably would have just let it slide by, as I probably have in the past. And I find out in January if I get accepted. So looking forward to that. Offering support and information, resources to network partners, and following up on relationships internally and externally. So for me, feel like this is probably the hardest for me, finding time to check in with other teams, because oftentimes I'm the one asking for help instead of the other way around. But when I look at this as a point, there's probably other teams that could use information about what I'm doing, or if I spent time with them before I asked for help, they may be able to help me in a more thorough way, or be more willing to help me. So definitely something that is on my list to do. And one example of this, we have a team within our organization that they just schedule quarterly meetings, and they say, is there anything that we can help you with? Our data science team. And almost every time I'm like, you know what, it would be great if we had a report to do this and this and this. And I'm probably going to write them a thank you for doing that, because I probably should be doing the same thing to see if they need anything from me. So then lastly, focusing on what I can do to help new contacts achieve their goals, rather than trying to think about how they can help me achieve mine. Kind of ties into that last bullet point there, but another reason or step, I guess, to work on to help cultivate network. I had one person who at a conference I was at reached out to me, and they it was another pharmacy director, and I thought, okay, like I'll meet with this person. And they were just so forthcoming and they were like, I really want to help you. And I thought to myself, what are they trying to sell me? And it turned out, after everything, they were not trying to sell me anything. They were actually just trying to expand their network. And now when I go to that conference, I make a point to run into that person and touch base with them. And it worked. I was a little skeptical initially, but I think after seeing it in action, maybe I should be doing the same. So influencing others, conveying the message, giving the right amount of context, collecting and considering priorities, ideas, and concerns, and then gaining buy-in. So from a strategy perspective, I'm going to research and engage my audience and stakeholders. From a company perspective, what is my company's mission? What are the quarterly or annual goals? And how can I get my story to relate or connect my story to that? So that's step one. And I swear when I sent this in, these bullets were not 111. So apologies for that. On the second bullet there, asking open-ended questions and listening attentively. So I know for me, I get excited when we're talking about a new idea or concept, and I want to interject, or new ideas come up. And so for me, this is probably an important one, active listening, and then also taking what you find through active listening and using that to adjust your communications. Clearly and concisely communicating my idea and plan. I have a habit of wanting to give too much information. I want everybody on my team to get credit for their work, and I want to show how much we're doing. But that's not the goal of of this exercise. The people that I'm communicating with are mostly not clinicians. They don't all understand the intricacies of what I'm doing. So, I probably don't need to get into the weeds with clinical information to non-clinical staff. And I could probably do more promoting of my team through the networking piece and maybe more bulleted, targeted information from a brand perspective. And think more about, instead of like, what are we doing? What are our goals? What do we need help with? What do we need to get people on board with? Next, anticipating and preparing responses to objections. This one requires prep work. So again, going back to, oh, I don't know if I have the time for this, or I've never made the time for this. Here I am trying to make a purposeful thought process, and I put some notes down in my OneNote and want to come back and think, what could people say if I bring this up as an idea? Like, are they going to be against it? Why might they be against it? What can I think of that I might offer them that might help them out? Maybe I'm going to network with them more and offer more of my resources. They're more likely to help me later. Maybe I change up my steps in anticipation of their objections. And then I've got leverage shared goals to gain commitment, and then asking for agreement of next steps. Just again, with the clarity, making kind of succinct points to get everybody on board, and identifying key goals and creating talking points. So my organization is definitely big on like bulleted information. And I don't know if that's because I work with a lot of actuaries and that's just how we communicate, but you'll see as we move forward that it does kind of tie towards some branding points that are out there. And so coming up with those key goals and objectives might happen organically, but again, you may need to take time on the side to polish those and get that list together. So on the next slide. So go back. I've said a couple times that I needed to find the time. I didn't have the time. I have to make the time. And I just thought this quote kind of summarized it here for me. But the busier you are, the more intentional you must be. This is something that Michael Hyatt said, who's in charge of the Hyatt hotel chain, CEO, probably a pretty busy person. And I just find this to be so true to my ability to adopt these concepts. This is kind of a little bit of what I was talking about on the last slide, but the packaging and getting things succinct. The packaging is where you want to engage the hearts and minds of your audience. So making sure that you are getting to the point, that they can understand the point, you don't go past the point. I know that's hard for me, so I'm going to be working on that. And then painting the picture. I have somebody in my organization who legitimately put up a slide of levers. Here are the 4 levers, and there's just like little levers on there. It's like maybe more literal than I thought I would take it, but they have the 4 items that they really want us to work on. And I think initially when I saw that, I was like, this is so literal. This is crazy. But when I think about that person's brand, I know exactly what they're trying to do and what they want people to know about their area. And so, being literal with the picture maybe isn't all bad. Thinking about the emotions that I want to provoke in my audience. So how can I engage those emotions? So maybe through a case study. For my team, that might be talking about a drug savings where we had somebody outreach to a pharmacy and they had the pharmacy change from 2 5-milligram tablets to 1 10-milligram tablet. And it happens to save thousands of dollars for the member and even more money for the company. People would probably be pretty excited about that. Or a thought-provoking question like, what would have happened if we hadn't been this prepared for this audit? Or if we didn't have these key people in their place? And then the strategy, focusing on the big picture. So I'm not going to click on this link at the bottom, but if you want to talk about big picture, this is an excellent link. And it's got a video of a TED Talk where they're talking about big picture from like a company standpoint. And the gist is that everybody knows what they're doing. Most can say how they do it, but few know why they do it. And so talking about like, why does your organization exist? Or if you're branding your team, why does your team exist? And why should anybody care about that? So I highly encourage you to check out that link down there at the bottom after this presentation. But in the strategy, you might have to use multiple different strategies to talk to your audience, whether that be gathering information or displaying information in a PowerPoint or bringing in some other trusted advisor to your discussion to get people on board. It may be something that you're not comfortable with, whether that's public speaking or being confrontational, talking to people, a different area that you're not, don't usually work with. But that's something that's important to get your strategy across. Getting people on board who are not your direct reports, again, with the network that can help you there, and then connecting the story to the larger why. Oh, you know what? I'm going to answer this question in the chat though. Just so example of somebody that has a good brand. If I was going back to like TED Talk, the TED Talk is a lot about Apple versus other companies. And they kind of touch a little bit on Nike as well. So some really good points made about maybe why those are brands that people resonate with, made in the TED Talk that kind of make you rethink, why do I feel allegiance to one company over another? As far as people with a brand, I think about like within my own company, like who is like the most trusted team for me to go to, who is somebody that if I'm like find something that's a problem that I can go to, that's definitely a type of brand too. So for personal influence, knowing yourself and where you want to take the work can help you influence others. And so setting clear and obtainable goals and being clear with that with any staff that report to you. You want to work to your strengths because then people will see that. And then also your passion and drive can sell personal vision. For purposeful action, Katie talked about training your brain to know when it's triggered, but you can also train your brain to focus on the good things. So trying to train your brain to take time to reflect on your wins. Sometimes when we have extra time in a team meeting, I'll just ask our team, what was one good thing that happened this week? Because we just want to try and think about, the positive and keep people inspired to do the work that they're doing. And so being inspired by the work. And even if it's not perfect, if it's going in the right direction, being willing to accept that. So that is a little bit about my journey and what I'm hoping to grow on.
Hey, my friend, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and share your biggest takeaway. And if you're wanting more, you can access hundreds of recent speakers, book summaries, great articles, and more at no additional charge through your membership portal. You can also get involved in a Women Leaders Association mastermind group or networking group near you. Or if you just need to access your membership portal, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com to be connected. Because here at Women Leaders Association, we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. That's all for today, my friends. Bye for now.